Shut up and sit down.
So what's up, man? We're back.
We're back. It's
We're
been a
back.
while.
Yeah, it's
Been a
been a
while.
while. A lot of stuff happening, man.
Yeah, man, crazy. It's like non-stop.
Yeah. So I guess like we should probably start this with of like saying I guess what's been happening since our last episode. I'm not really sure when it last was. A couple of months back, right?
Yeah, just
Uh
has to give a timeline of everything. That's like what was then and what's happened in between.
yeah. So with me anyway, it was like my work went crazy, first of all, and I had to go to the north of Sweden a lot to do work there and felt like the internet wasn't suffice to do anything.
Yeah.
Then I came back and I was like, okay, let's shoot out some podcasts. My laptop just completely broke. Completely broke. Thankfully, I Frankensteined it and got it all working again. New hard drive and everything. Lost all of my stuff.
No.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, but we're back. We're back. So,
back.
fingers crossed that nothing bad's gonna happen again, and fingers crossed that I can upload some more stuff. So,
Is that a new microphone I see?
kind of. I've bought a few new microphones and I've been switching them around a bit. But I'm not going to say what this is because I don't have a deal with them. So if any microphone the guys wanna do a little bit of a collab, then hit us up. Hit us up.
Yeah, that's welcome, man. Mics are expensive.
Yeah. I'm on the low end right now, I think so. So what's been happening with you, man? Uh, no more COVID and stuff. You've all been alright?
Yeah, all good now. Just like a lot of life,
Mm-hmm.
life. No, otherwise not that much. It's just you know, trying to figure out work and life balance and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a lot of that as well, especially with the whole MMA part. I like I kind of left topology now because
Okay.
that was, to me was taking up way too much of my time for what I got out of it as well.
Yeah.
So I figured like spend some more time with the family. I spend a lot of time with MMA as it is kind of thing. So
Yeah.
balance, you gotta find that life balance, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. But MMA is like your main like focus and like hobby outside of life. Would you have like other outside like work, or do you have other things that are like other passions as well?
I think it's just MMA, man. I'm a simple guy. I like eating. Like no MMA. I mean, I used to be big into football, but
Mm,
it took up way too much time. I felt like because it used to be like watch a game on like Saturday, like daytime, then watching like match of the day Saturday night, then watching like
yeah.
match of the day Sunday night, and yeah, I feel like that takes up way too much of your weekend, man.
Yeah, it does. It does. It definitely does.
Yeah, but now I'm on MMA, so that fucks up my weekend as well.
Yeah.
Then
I guess it's easier though, it's not as like, you have like one main like UFC and then you've got some other like, a couple of other galas and that kind of thing. You can kind of pick and choose. You don't actually have to see all of them.
yeah.
But like, watching football, it's like that's like every day nearly.
How's it go for you anyway? I mean, you're still a hockey fan, right?
Yeah,
Is it?
not as into hockey as I used to be.
No.
But I'm pretty deep into Formula One, so I got my heart broken on
Uh-huh.
Sunday. Um, and I'm pretty deep into mountain biking as well. Um, yeah, but now it's the weather's so cold, so I can't do that at the moment. So
Mm. Yeah, me and my wife just recently brought her a car, and
hmm.
then now she's like, "Damn, I feel so bad because I'm not cycling anymore." And I'm like, "It's the winter. Why
Yeah,
the hell would you be cycling in the winter?" She's like, "No,
it's
people do
like
that in Sweden." And I'm like, "Really?"
yeah, it's proper winter now.
Yeah.
I guess it's even worse for you, being a bit further up.
It's actually like calmed down. It was like super like -20 almost, but it seemed to have calmed down.
Jesus.
Snow's melting away and everything. So
So it's only like -15 up there now, now that it's calming down.
no, I think today we had like +6.
Wow.
Decent, right?
Sounds similar to us.
So motorsports, I've never been into motorsports.
Really?
Yeah, I used to be a mechanic, so every time I see a car, even if it's a nice one, I just see a problem. So like, I, I don't know, I've never really understood it. To me, it's like you just have the faster car, and then that does you good, right?
Well, I guess to a certain point, there's definitely like, I mean, there's of course there's levels to driving. Like if you've ever driven go-karts against anyone that's had any like kind of like amateur career or like semi-pro career,
Hmm.
like it's unbelievable. It's a bit like doing jiu-jitsu with a black belt. You've got no chance. They'll be like lapping you, and you're thinking, we're in the same machinery.
Mm.
I don't get how I'm on lap 3 and you're already coming past me again. Um, no, but I grew up in Nottingham, and we had Donington Park pretty close.
Okay.
It's like half an hour. And my dad always used to have a motorbike when I was younger, so we always used to go watch MotoGP.
Hmm.
Um, and the past couple of years, I've been getting back into F1, and at the moment this week I kind of regret it because that was like one of the worst experiences of my life Sunday.
So,
But
so what happened? I mean, it's been around on my feed a bit, to be honest, more than probably Spider-Man. But yeah, what has happened? Like, why is everyone shocked?
so basically, right? Um, Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion,
Hmm.
8-time actually should be. He he's been really dominant like for the past 10 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
And this year, Red Bull have finally gotten their car in order. So it was Red Bull against Mercedes, Lewis versus Max Verstappen. And it's been like a really, really close battle, like all season, and it's been like in the beginning, Lewis was leading, then Max was leading a big portion of the season and had a big advantage in points. And then towards the end of the season, like these past 4 races, Lewis has just been like, he's been driving like he's driving for his life.
Hmm.
He went from basically over the weekend in Brazil, like a couple of weekends ago, he had basically 25 place grid penalty in total, and ended up finishing first. And so he's just been like bringing, he's been like he's done some of the best driving like we've ever seen. And so it's neck and neck. To this final race in Abu Dhabi. So they've got the same points, 369.5 points each. But Max is leading statistically because he has more wins, even though they're on the same points.
Hmm.
So everyone was afraid that Max was going to crash into Lewis and he was going to try and win that way, like Schumacher did a
Hmm.
long time ago. But anyway, so Lewis gets a good start. He's leading the race. He has a battle with Verstappen's teammate, and then it's starting to look like smooth sailing. Verstappen did get a tire advantage, and he was closing the gap to Lewis. Lewis had like 15 seconds up on him, which is it's huge in Formula One.
Hmm.
And then we get to like I think it was like there were 5 laps until the end, and it's just like as long as Lewis doesn't get like a freak punch or something, he's going to be the 8th-time champion. He's going to be statistically better than Schumacher. And then one of the guys lower down the grid smashes into the wall. His car's in pieces with 5 laps to go.
Hmm.
So they bring out the safety car, right? And when they bring out the safety car, all the pack gets bunched up and you've got lap cars and things like that. So there's 5 lap cars or 4 lap cars between Lewis and Max. So it's
Hmm.
like it's a big buffer. So Max goes in, he switches tires, ends up behind these 4 or 5 cars. But the rules say that we either let the lap cars, we move them out of the way so they pass the safety car and they lap, so then they unlap themselves.
Hmm.
And if you're going to unlap cars, all the cars have to unlap themselves. Otherwise, you don't unlap any cars. And once you've let the lap cars go, the lap after that, after all of them have gone past the safety car, then you can bring the safety car in. So basically, this is, the safety car's been going around and the laps are going and going and going. So we get to there's 1.5 laps left.
Yeah.
First, the race director goes, okay, no lap cars are going. So Max is on better tyres, but he's got 4 cars in between him and Lewis, so he's not going to catch him on 1 lap. And then suddenly he changes his mind and goes, okay, lapped cars are going to be let through. But instead of letting all the lap cars through, they let the lap cars between Max and between Lewis go. So these 4 back markers, they let them go past. And then he also goes, and the safety cars coming in this lap. 2 like huge breaches of the rules. You can't just like decide that,
So
okay, these cars.
it's like a Formula One gate kind of thing, or
Yeah, kind of. And then so basically, Max he's on fresh soft tires, like the fastest tires, and Lewis is on 44 lap old hard tires. So the grip has like started to go on them completely. So like if racing, that Lewis has no chance. It doesn't matter if his car's faster on the day, he's got no chance of holding Max off. So basically, they sacrificed a fair race just because they wanted one final lap of entertainment where there would be a battle. But if racing, Max is going to pass him. So as everyone knew, the lap starts. You get halfway through the lap, Max Verstappen lunges on Lewis Hamilton. Lewis tries to get him back, but he's just not got the grip to get him back. And Max Verstappen basically gets gifted his first championship, and Lewis gets robbed of this 8th championship just because the race director was like, well, fuck the rule book. I'll make my own rules up. We've got to make this exciting. And it's just madness, man.
that
Like
does sound like madness.
I don't think I've ever been so like emotionally affected by something that hasn't like affected me personally. Like when I played hockey and everything, there was times where I've had goals that have been disallowed that that have been fair, fair goals.
There's always a
And the
time of fuck
referees,
it kind of thing. There's always a time of
exactly. And like literally, even then, when it was like, bro, I worked really hard to get that goal to help my team and everything. Even the hurt that I would feel then, it was literally nothing compared to Sunday. So,
you should maybe start a Formula One podcast as well then.
I think so, but I think I get a lot of hate as well. All these Max Verstappen fanboys.
just don't do it with me. If there's no video on this, but if anyone saw me, I'll just like sitting back here and nodding. You're like, yep.
yeah.
But I feel your passion at least. That's what makes it. So it was a thing of like someone got screwed, like Lewis got screwed.
Yeah, like really, really badly, like really, really bad. Like it is literally unprofessional. Like the fact that you have to remember that the race director, he's not just like some nobody who doesn't know racing. The race director knows what happens if someone on soft tires in an equally good car, and then you got someone on hard tires that is literally he was leading 80% of the race, like by a long margin. Max had his team manager even said, he was like, if we're gonna win this on the last 10 laps, we need a miracle. And someone crashed, which was like the first part of the miracle. But then, instead of that speed,
you just done body fingers. That, do you think the guy crashed on purpose, or what do you think?
No,
like it's got paid off?
No, I don't think so. It's just like you couldn't even script it. You literally couldn't script it. It was, it was like a done deal. So, it's like it was like having a locked-in submission. Like it was like having a rear naked choke. You got the full body triangle. You've got the choke deep, 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 and they're about to tap. And then the referee, comes in and says, like breaks it, like stands it up. It's literally that. It's literally that. If you'd had Poirier on Oliveira's back this past weekend, and he'd had his neck and he'd had the body triangle and it was all locked in, and then the referee comes in and goes, wait, stand up.
Yeah.
And then Oliveira just goes and knocks him out. That would have been literally, that's the MMA version of what happened.
So you kind of pointed it on the MMA this weekend. I'm a bit how can I put this? Because everyone's kind of saying that I'm a hater. Yeah. I'm not a Joe Rogan hater. I promise everyone I'm not. But I do think that he is biased. Do people agree with me? I don't know. Do you agree with me?
I hate to say it, but yes.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is, right, it is hard to not be like at all biased.
Yeah, of course, it's human. Like,
I think the thing is, it's so hard, like, especially, Joe's been around for a long time and he's watched a lot of people, like, a lot of the people that are like the champions now, he's really been there and seen, at least from, once they've started being on like bigger cards, Joe's been there and he's seen it all unravel live. And if he really gets a liking to someone, and especially like certain people that he's had on his podcast and things like that, I guess you do, they almost become like nearly friends to you.
Yeah, this is like one of the things of why I want to try a bit of commentary, and I've spoken
Mm.
to it about like to the Chef's Mills Pod guys and and Sebastian who does commentary at FCR and stuff like that. I want to
Yeah.
try it because my view of MMA is always there's two people going in there
Mm.
that are literally doing the same thing. It's not
Mm.
like one guy's coming out of the pub and one guy's like a trained professional. These are two
No.
guys that are like doing their thing to get like a win. So like that people kind of big up, let's say home players or stuff like that or champions kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because to me, to call Juliana Pena beating Amanda Nunes the biggest upset in UFC ever,
Mm.
that's a diss. I feel like that's a diss to the person that just won. Like, wow, like are you saying that so many people were against me? You're even saying that you were against me, like,
Mm.
I didn't think that I was gonna win. Shocking the world, that kind of works like, in a bit of a positive. You just shock the world. But to
Yeah.
go to someone and say, what do you think of now putting on the biggest upset ever? I'm like, mm,
I get where you're coming from. However, I do have to say, just that exact statement that he made, I do agree with it. Like to a certain point. I mean, it's like a GSP Matt Sierra.
mm.
That's like the only other thing I can think of that was like that insane.
Or like Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey.
No, I don't. I guess the thing is, right? That was huge because of the fact that Ronda was, so she was such a big star, right?
Isn't it the same here now as well? Because Amanda Nunes is seemed to be unbeatable by everyone, but there's no one that's unbeatable in MMA.
I guess the thing is, I would say it just feels like Amanda is felt so much more in a league of her own. Of course, Ronda Rousey, like at a certain point, we did think that she was unbeatable.
Mm.
Um, but that I don't think she ever looked 100% unbeatable. It was more like Ronda Rousey's definitely the best we've got, but the right person could probably beat her.
Yeah.
Because if you look at like Amanda's like brute strength and the way she hits, and her having such an all round game. What to me the reason that Ronda lost was because she kind of started, leaving what she was good at. She decided that she's going to start trying to like stand and strike.
Yeah, she believed in her own
Which
hype that everyone was putting on her.
exactly, but Amanda doesn't seem like the type of person that does that. And then like literally when I saw this fight booked, and Juliana Pena had been, going on about it forever, I was like, we're just like sending another lamb to slaughter. Like, personally, me, like the stuff I've seen from Juliana Pena, it didn't seem like someone that was going to beat Amanda. And like everyone else thought, I guess, Amanda seemed very unbeatable. Like the thing that kind of like was the turning point for me with Amanda was I thought she was going to get beat by Cyborg.
Mm.
And when she stopped Cyborg, I was like, okay, I can't doubt Amanda anymore. Like,
Yeah.
And then you get Juliana Pena, who's just like, in my mind, I never saw her as being that good. Never like Amanda Nunes level. And then this fight happened, and I was like in shock. It was just weird. It was so to some point, I would probably say that we're definitely number one, two biggest upsets in UFC history. Definitely.
Yeah. I have a few theories about this, and we've had a few theories on this podcast platform, shall I say. So one of my theories is that champions they kind of go on a wave. You kind of with them at the start, but then once they start defending quite a few times, then you actually tune in to watch them get beat. Do you know what I mean? Because
Is that a personal
no,
admission?
I feel like that's what happens. I mean, people are hating on Khabib because he's been so dominant for a long time. So I feel like people are hating on him to the point of we want to be there to see him lose. Not that they actually want him to lose, but like, we want to see him lose. That's why they want him to continue, because they want to see him lose. Most undefeated fighters, they want to see him lose. Most people that become in the league of their own, like you're saying, you then tune in to like, oh, but she hasn't fought this person. Oh, but she hasn't, faced a wrestler. Oh, she hasn't done this kind of thing. And my other theory is that the UFC puts limelight on certain people and on certain people they don't. If you look at the talents like Tatiana Suarez or Arnold Allen or
Yeah.
any of the other like undefeated fighters, I'm not really sure of Tatiana right now, but that's another name that came to mind, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That like, what's happening with these people? Why are they not getting their title shot and things like that? So I feel like Pena's name was in Amanda's mouth a few times. That's what got her the fight.
Yeah.
Then the opportunity of obviously beating her was there for Juliana to take.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I do get you. Like, I agree to a certain point with your opinion on that. I think a lot of people do. I don't know whether it's just like me personally. I have like an issue with that. Because I've never really understood the whole I watch them to see them get beat. For me it's more I watch them to see how they handle like that level of
like adversity.
yeah, and that kind of an opponent. Like Kamaru, he might not, or he's become more exciting the longer he's been, he's been in the spotlight. But he's definitely not the most entertaining fighter, or at least hasn't been. And I don't watch him because I'm like, oh, maybe Colby might beat him. It's not, that's not why I watch him. I watch him because I want to see, oh, well, how's he gonna handle this? Same when he was, gonna fight Masvidal. How's he gonna handle Masvidal? Hopefully Khamzat gets that chance, and I won't be watching him because I'm like, oh, I can't wait for Kamaru to get beaten. As much as I'd like to see Khamzat as a champ, I would love to see. For both of them, really, I'd love to see how they handle each other's fighting styles and their experience and that kind of thing. But I think you see that, to your point, I think you do see that in a lot of sports. I think with Khabib, a lot of people watched him, because they wanted him to lose. And I think you can say that about like a lot of sports stars, like tennis players, basketball players, football players. A lot of people do want to see them lose, and I guess that's kind of like a kind of toxicity that's kind of built up.
And I guess you want to see the comeback as well. You want to see what happens after that first loss.
Do you though? I think some people just want to see them like. I don't think people want to see them come back. I think people just like to build people up to break them down to a certain point.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. MMA psychology here. But I mean, but you can't deny as well though that when Kamaru Usman fights anyone, he gets booed.
Yeah.
When Tyron Woodley fought anyone when he was a champ, he'll get booed. So
yeah.
it's like, like the commentators are doing, and I'm sure that the UFC has a vision on where certain fighters are going to go. It's a lot of look that way. This is our next guy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, definitely. But do you think that has anything to do with just like who the fighters are? Because if you look at certain other fighters, they don't get booed. Like Izzy, for example, he doesn't get booed.
Yeah, but as well, like
Amanda's
would
never
you
been
would you
someone
say would
who
you say
gets
that
booed.
Israel Adesanya has been dominant in his title reign? Because I'll say his fights have been very interesting because they've actually been very tight. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm kind of like trying to process away my bias towards Izzy. But I get. Wait, I'm just gonna.
I'm
pull his
not
last couple of
human.
fights
I don't have biasness. I'm not human.
I guess there's probably some truth to what you're saying. Actually, maybe he hasn't been the most dominant.
Are you excited for his next fight? Anyway, he's gonna be fighting Bobby Knuckles again.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Whitaker deserves that title shot again.
Yeah.
Definitely, he was champ for a while, so I think that he definitely deserves it. I'm hoping Izzy's going to piece him up, but I don't know. It's hard. I mean, I would say that the Martin Vettori fight, I would say that was still a pretty clear-cut win.
Yeah.
Jan fight, that was just it was a shame.
But wouldn't you also say before that fight on paper that Whitaker is a much better fighter than Marvin Vettori?
Yeah, definitely.
But then they went 5 rounds.
That's the thing that's really weird, like
Mhm.
it's, I guess, in the way you put it before, his fights have had some interesting results. Like Kelvin seems like someone that, Izzy he should manhunt.
Yeah.
He's so much bigger than him. Like Kelvin, literally, he could probably drop 2 divisions if he just had like a proper dietitian or something and
Mhm.
like didn't eat shit because he's built like a refrigerator. Um, and then suddenly you have like it was an amazing fight, but it was definitely, I thought that he was going to put him away early, and it became a big issue for him. Robert Whitaker, on the other hand, he finished him off relatively early, and I thought that was going to be like a 5-round war.
Mhm.
The Yoel Romero fight, that was also it was just strange.
No, wait, when he fought Whitaker, it went 5 rounds.
No, it went through 2.
Because I'm looking at stats now of Kelvin, because I'm like, Kelvin fell off for sure. I mean,
Yeah, Kelvin was 5 rounds, and Whitaker was 2.
yeah, sorry. I thought you meant when Kelvin fought Whitaker.
Okay.
So then, yeah, Kelvin faced Izzy and lost in 5 rounds. Then lost to Till, lost to Hermansson, beat Ian Heinisch, then lost to Whitaker and lost to Cannonier.
Yeah,
Damn.
that wasn't a great losing streak.
No. But those names are like, what, the top 5, maybe? Maybe not Till now because he's also
But
fallen off a bit.
there's still people though that you would think Izzy would probably have a very good shot against.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, Izzy would beat Darren Till. I think Izzy beats Jack, even though Jack could definitely be a tough night. I just think at the
Or is that
moment.
your biasness coming in again?
But I think that he beats him, and Jared Cannonier, I think Izzy beats as well.
Mm-hmm.
But Jared's a hard one. I thought Jared was going to smash Whitaker, to be honest. I was balls deep on the Cannonier hype train. Literally, we were watching when the night he was going to fight Whitaker. We were watching. That was the Khabib.
I'm not sure. Let's see.
Wasn't it?
Let's see.
I think that was the Khabib card.
Cannonier.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was. Yes, it was. It was Khabib Gaethje. So me and the boys, we were watching the fights that night, and we decided to do like a group bet on it. And literally, the one when we were making the bets, I was like, okay, just let me make one choice, and that's that Cannonier, he's going to beat Whitaker. And then all the other boys, they went and they just like picked random names and everything. We got every single fight apart from that one. Apart from that one,
the one that you were sure about.
The one that I was 100% sure about. I was like, all day, man, all day, Cannonier, but no.
We're in a weird place with the UFC at the moment, and I feel like this always happens at the end of the year. That titles just change at the end of the year, and like then you have difficult fights to make, stuff like that.
It's a bit like everyone's been holding on to the title and maybe been like dodging certain opponents, and then the fights end up getting booked because it's like, well, we've got to do it now, and then suddenly the titles start changing hands, and like you say, we're getting this weird kind of.
What's your thought about what they should do with Garbrandt?
it's hard, man, because he does have like he still feels like a star. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like he genuinely feels like a star when he's at the press conference and everything. Um, but like the losses he's had, man, it's like
Yeah, it's one win in his last 6 fights.
yeah, and he's not getting any younger, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean he's starting to lose against or has started to lose against people that are 100% good, but they're maybe not like mainstream names. And I think the thing is that it's kind of tragic, but the thing about MMA and especially UFC is you definitely have to like keep in the good books with the casuals.
Yeah.
Like you really do. Like to become a star, you really need to keep in you really need to be in their good books because at the end of the day, the people get paid are the people that are popular with the casuals. You might be the best fighter hands down in the UFC, but if you don't have exciting fights and you might make a mistake, you might lose to the wrong fighter and everything, you're not always fighting these bigger stars in the UFC, then you kind of get, a losing streak can be more than a losing streak.
Yeah.
Or one loss can do the same damage as what a 5 fight losing streak could do for like pick Connor, for example. Like Connor's the biggest star, but the amount of the way Connor's record has been since he was like on top
Mm-hmm.
is actually like really bad. Like a lot of people would be, you'd be looking at cutting them from the UFC at this point.
Yeah, I mean, since I thought of Connor as well, and then it's like since he defeated Eddie Alvarez for that second title, the only person he's beat is Donald Cerrone.
And that was a long, long time ago.
Yeah, that
That was
was
a long, long,
in
long time.
January 2020.
Yeah,
Then he fought
and especially
Dustin Poirier twice and lost twice.
if you go all the way back to the Alvarez fight, that was definitely a long time ago.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
was 2018. Yeah, damn. But he don't need to do it, right? Like,
no, but that's the thing that I think is a problem for Co-Ramp. Like Pedro Munoz, he's definitely getting bigger, but I still wouldn't say he's like super mainstream.
mm-hmm.
Rafael Asuncao, he is, he beat him, but he's not really a mainstream name either.
Nope.
He's very good, but he's not
And that was
super
Rafael
main.
Sansal's third loss in a row against Garbrandt.
Yeah, and then Rob Font, like no disrespect to Rob Font either, but Rob Font isn't a huge name.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like Kai Kara France is, he does have a bit of star power because he's from Izzy's camp and everything. But he's still not like super known. Like that fight is definitely bigger for Kai Kara France than it is for Cody Garbrandt.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed Kai Kara France's like performances because he was on the Ultimate Fighter, right?
Mm.
Yeah, so him coming from that, I don't know. When they come from that, I feel like you're kind of at the beginning of their career, kind of thing. Even though it's totally
Yeah.
not, but you kind of follow them a bit deeper, get to know them a bit more on a personal level, I guess. So you'd be one to keep Garbrandt just for the name.
Yeah, I think so. I think you know what I think you do with him, right? I think you put him in against TJ.
That's a shocker.
That's what I think you do. I think that's what you do because I mean, like TJ's, TJ has been out. He did have a good performance now that he came back, but I think still like those two, that's probably the biggest fight either of them can get.
Mm-hmm.
That fight will be hype,
Yeah, I was
no
thinking
matter
like
what,
no matter
because
who
it's been
wins on
so
that,
much
it would be
fun.
like strapping them onto a rocket ship.
Exactly,
Mm.
exactly. So you could either save Cody's career or you could save TJ's career.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking I wouldn't mind seeing Cody versus Cruz again. That would kind of be a
Yeah,
nice one for Cruz to try and get back before he maybe hangs up the gloves.
yeah,
Uh,
no, definitely.
Not saying that I feel like he should hang up the gloves, but he was on prelims. Like,
Yeah, that was weird. That's one thing as well. I would also Like, it sounds bad, but I would probably, like me, if I was in the UFC and I got offered a fight, it's like, do you want to fight on this big card and you want to be on the prelims, or would you like to be on a fight night and be like higher up on the main
Hmm.
card? I'd go higher up on the main card of a fight night, because the thing is, a lot of people don't watch the prelims.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't watch the prelims. Even people that are like into fighting don't watch the prelims. Like, when me and the boys watch fights, we're not really paying attention to the
Yeah,
prelims.
yeah. It's like
Like,
the starter kind of thing, like.
yeah, even if there's good fights, you're eating food, maybe you're drinking a beer or whatever, you're not like super focused, and the people in the arena aren't really there either. Like, especially at big events,
Hmm.
if you watch the events in like Las Vegas and stuff, it's like more than half empty during the prelims.
But I also say that this pay-per-view had a lot of names on it, like well-known names, so that they had to get kind of pushed down to the prelims.
But do you want to be drowned out by the big names? That's the thing. Or do you
Mm,
want to be the main? It's a bit like, Holloway. Holloway's been on a couple of fight nights now or whatever.
yeah, that's true.
And he's definitely a fighter that deserves to be main event, co-main event on big cards.
Hmm.
But, he made that decision, that conscious decision to be on the fight nights. And it's been working for him.
Yeah.
Because he's always the main attraction, instead of maybe getting bumped down just because he's not got the belt, instead of being bumped down to being like the fourth fight on the fourth fight on the main card, or the fifth or sixth fight.
Hmm. Well, what do you think about our boy Tai Tuivasa, Mr. Shui?
He's a bad man,
He's been on a roll.
It's crazy.
Uh,
You know what I feel about him? I think he is what everybody wants Derek Lewis to be, but that Derek Lewis isn't.
yeah. I completely get what you mean. You don't even have to
You know,
like.
everybody wants Derek Lewis to be this,
Mhm.
crazy, exciting madman. And, Derek Lewis has a funny Instagram and funny post-fight interviews and everything. But, like, no hate, but he's a fucking boring fighter.
I feel like Derek Lewis is a very smart businessman, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, he knows what people want, so he like gives them a bit, but then not enough so that people kind of hear all of it. It's like, oh, I'm gonna save a bit to next time, and you tune in next time, kind of thing. Tied to Ivasa, you tune in, even though you know it's gonna be the same shit.
Yeah.
But it's good
it's
shit.
going to be chaotic and it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And you don't have to like sit and wait for, for Derek's, one hitter quitter and hope that he connects or something,
I feel like he's should be going up the rankings quite a bit. He's had 3 wins this year. He fought once last year and won. 2019 was a shit year for him. He lost twice. But it's the heavyweight division. So it's like,
Yeah.
you don't have to get that many wins to get up there.
No, you don't.
I mean,
The heavyweight division can definitely swing like fast up and down.
I'm sure he's not main evented anything, has he? No, he has in 2018.
I don't think so.
Well, as against Junior Dos Santos, so I'm guessing it's a Junior Dos Santos fight that got that main event spot kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that'd be wicked. Like, fuck Corona. I hope that goes away. And then Tai Tuivasa in Australia, like headlining.
That would be sick.
Just a fight
That
night
would
kind
be
of thing.
really
That would be sick.
Yeah. Well, that'd be sick, definitely.
But yeah, it's like he's weirdly a dark horse, and something's changed with him that he's knocking people out easy.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at like his past couple of fights, he barely, like the one this weekend, it barely, you were talking like round 2. They're not getting very far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure
the ones before that have been first round KOs.
I'm pretty sure he feels bad in the morning, but not because of the fights.
Do you know what I mean? Exactly.
So what do you think of the main event then? Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier.
Like all in all, this weekend wasn't a good weekend for me. Like it's sports in total. You know,
It's Dustin, your boy. Is that what you're saying?
Dustin's my boy, Amanda's my girl, and Lewis is also my boy.
Oh my god.
So
So anyone that you support, I'm just gonna bet on the opposite.
yeah, just bet on the opposite. You know, call me Chael Sonnen, man. Yeah, no, I was rooting for Dustin. I just wanted to see him like go full circle. Honestly, I really like Charles. So it was honestly, it was going to be disappointing either way. I didn't want to see either of them lose because both of them deserved to win. But I really wanted to see Dustin, complete what he came here to complete, because honestly, I think if Dustin wins that bout, I think he vacates the title and Charles Oliveira fights someone to get it back again.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think he was planning on sticking around. I think he was going to get the belt. He's had the money fight with Conor. He was going to get the belt. He might have fought Conor again
for the belt,
possibly,
kind of thing.
Not for the belt.
So you think he'll win it, scrap it, and then just have one money fight with nothing on the line?
Yeah, I think he'd win it, scrap it. He'd take some time off. Then in like a year and a half, maybe, he fights Conor. And then
in
like,
MMA or in boxing or.
I think I think they probably still make the most money in MMA because they're two MMA fighters. But yeah. But all credit to Oliveira. I mean that choke was deep.
Yep, he just jumped on him straight. Like you don't usually see that in high level fights. Do you know what I mean?
No. That was like the kind of thing you would expect to see, like in a school fight. Someone just like jump somebody at the lockers or something and just like sinks a choke in. But that was it was impressive, man. He just jumped on him, and that was it's really, really hard when someone's standing up to do that. Like it's really hard because you've got to climb them basically.
My thing
and stay up.
My takeaway from that was that Poirier didn't jump to the ground. Like he didn't try and front flip him and to for the impact, like sometimes when someone's on your back, you just fall back and the impact kind of gets them to let go a bit.
Yeah.
But maybe he just didn't want to be on the ground.
Yeah, I think after the round, but the round before that, when he had just been like controlled the whole round, I think that just like got into his head. He was like, I'm not going to the ground because he'll fuck me up on the ground.
Yeah,
that was probably what was going through his head. But Dustin was also fighting weird. I just don't really understand why he was just staying there.
Because it seemed like when they at the end of the round when they went to the corners, Dustin was saying like he was holding him because he didn't want to give him his back. So he'll just cruise the rest of the round out like on the bottom while holding and not attempt to actually scramble or anything because he doesn't want him to take his back.
Yeah, I guess maybe, honestly, it could be one of those kind of things, just the fight is just like somewhere in his head and he just like can't, he keeps going through the mistakes he made there and thinking, well, scrambling around, I got caught. So I'm not going to do that against Oliveira because he's a really good grappler. And then, when he stood up and he gets caught, like you say, like a lot of people, at least like as his last second Hail Mary, when he felt like, okay, this is deep, that he would just like try to front flip him or he would jump on his back, just something to try and get him off. At the same time, you don't know how much money he really made from the Conor fights. Maybe he made enough money to be like, okay, the belt, of course I won it, but I don't want the belt as much as I did before the two Conor fights.
That's true.
Money changes, man. I don't know how much he could have made, but say he made like $15 million total from the Conor fights. Maybe. I don't know. Could be more, could be less. Depends what the contracts were like. That's a substantial amount of money.
Yeah, and it seems like he doesn't really like he's not a money person. It doesn't seem like. Do you know what I mean?
No. He's not like super flashy, I think he'll probably pay off his house, buy a car, and the rest he'll probably like invest in like maybe other properties. But he's not like super showy. You see he's got a Rolex, but it's not like doused in diamonds or anything. Like he bought the Rolex that he thought was the nicest on the Rolex site.
Yeah.
It was expensive, like for a normal person, but if he's making that kind of money now,
Mhm.
it's a nice watch. But he doesn't need 15 watches like Conor needs.
Yeah, and you hear at the end of it, he said to Charles Oliveira that he's going to donate 25 grand to whatever charity.
Yeah,
Like, so that's like, I'm like, okay, he doesn't really, he cares more about helping people, it seems like. So,
yeah,
but I'll definitely think that, like, if he does hang it up, and like you say, that one more money fight, we'll definitely see him in the MMA circle still.
yeah,
It being
definitely.
a presenter or a coach or something like that, or even
Yeah,
like a
no, I think
promoter.
so. Yeah, and I think honestly, I think the for Connor, I think instead of Connor talking shit, I get why he does it because he knows that means he's going to get the fight,
Hmm.
the Dustin fight. But absolutely, that is the best case scenario for Connor that Dustin lost.
Yeah,
Because now that Dustin has a loss, then
opens the
he'll
door.
blame his leg and all that kind of stuff, and then they'll end up in there together.
Hmm. So let's talk a bit about Swedish MMA. The last event here was Fight Club Rush, is that right?
Uh,
I think
I'm
so.
not
I
sure.
think so. What's your thoughts from Fight Club Rush? Do you have the results on you? You can
I'll
get them
bring
up.
them up.
It was FCR 10. There is a lot at the moment about the heavyweights, Nerman, Hija Passage, and Irma's Magic.
Yeah, I saw there was a bit of beef about how that fight ended
Hmm.
with the referee and stuff.
Yep, bit of a strange one. Um, I'm not really one to First of all, I feel like MMA referees have one of the hardest jobs in the sport, and
Yeah,
people are gonna hate you. Like, I think every MMA ref knows that people are gonna hate you. Like,
yeah,
even if it's people feel like you've done something a bit too early or a bit too late, or you know, just the thing of the other guy won because of you, and you bet like
yeah.
so much on whatever. Um, so yeah, like I felt like the match was a bit weird. Everything surrounding it was a bit weird.
Mm.
Hearing about them not being elbows 3 days before the fight was weird.
Yeah, that's strange.
I put on my detective hat and tried to get answers on that, and everyone was pointing fingers at everyone else. And oh
But
man, that was a stressful 30 minutes. And I
it
thought,
was weird. That was literally just the one fight that wasn't allowed. That right?
no, so that was the information that I got from Earman. Then I spoke to Jurgen, and he said there was a couple of fights that weren't allowed it, and it's just about that you need to have, I don't know, a suffice amount of certain fights where you are allowed to use elbows, I guess. So either
Mm.
amateur MMA, Thai boxing, and things like that. And it was that Nermin came from boxing
Mm.
and then had two MMA fights.
So basically, they felt that he didn't have enough experience with
Exactly.
elbows to have that.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
Ehrman was obviously like pissed that, 3 days before the fight, he was
Yeah.
obviously training to get him down and ground and pound and stuff like that. So he felt
Mm.
like a weapon was taken away from him. Then when it came to the fight, I I'm a fan of jiu-jitsu. I'm a fan of ground
Mm.
wrestling. Uh, Even when heavyweights do it, I do feel like sometimes referees are pressured from the crowds booing and stuff like that.
Mm.
Obviously, the crowd wanted to see two heavyweights try and knock each other out.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not a trained MMA referee. So your
Yeah.
thought on it, on when an MMA fighter should be stood up and mine will differ, and someone else's will differ, and the referees will differ. So I don't think it's anything personal
Mm.
by the referee or anything like that. And I don't think the comments towards the referee should have been said the way that they said and everything.
Mm.
But then again, I don't think the referee should come out and do a 50-minute interview afterwards. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a hard one. I guess it's just like a, people just feel like wronged, and it just ends up being like a
Mhm.
bit of a back and forth.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's hard to. It is very hard to critique a ref without being a ref
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah.
And I think no matter, critiquing a ref is a tough one because even if a ref, even if it's like a clear situation,
Mm.
it is very hard to critique a ref and it to be like 100% valid if you aren't yourself a ref.
Yeah, like for example, I have watched MMA for maybe over 15 years.
Mm.
But if a MMA ref that's been doing a job for 3 years does a decision, just because
Mm.
I've seen more MMA fights, it doesn't mean that I should tell him what should or should not be. Do you know what I
No,
mean? Rules
no,
change,
that's the
things
thing because
change.
I mean they do have, of course they have a process, and referees aren't, they're not there trying to fuck things up. That's
Hmm.
not why they're there. They're trying to do the best, and I get that being it is a stressful situation. And a lot of the times it's not just like, oh, you've got this one main fight that you're gonna be taking care of. You've got a couple of fights in the card, and there's things that happen, and you might see thing or think you saw something, or you might see a situation, a different situation,
Hmm.
or in a different way. I mean, like even if you look at like the top referees in the world, you look at like Herb Dean, Mark Goddard, and that you'll see that even them, certain things they differ in opinion,
Hmm.
um, the way things should be and shouldn't be. So it's complicated. It's really complicated,
Yeah.
especially in a sport where emotions run so high, and like as MMA, and it's always personal.
Hmm.
Everything is always personal in MMA.
Yeah. It has to be. And there's a lot of MMA politics that the fans don't understand. Like
Mm.
why this fight had no elbows and blah, de blah, de blah. So, yeah, it's just mad. And a lot of people say that Herb Dean is one of the worst referees because they only remember
Yeah,
the times where he does bad. But did you know he got referee of the year this year?
exactly. It's
So it's like
insane.
there's no winning and there's no losing really.
But people do like to chuck people on the bus very quick. As soon as they make a mistake, it's like especially Herb. Literally the narrative on Herb, like in the past 2 years, I think he went from being the consensus best referee and the gold standard of MMA refereeing to like having a couple of shitty calls. Or like questionable calls, and people are like, he's the worst
Yeah.
thing that has happened to MMA, and it's like,
Mhm.
chill.
It's just people remembering the negative, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like how many fights does one referee ref on an event? But you'll pick
exactly.
out one spot that's like, oh, he's shit. Did you see what he done? I
Yeah.
don't think there will ever be an article where someone will be like, this ref was great.
Yeah,
Do you know
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah, this ref had 8 of the fights of the night, and he made one mistake that was 15 seconds. He
Hmm.
stood them up too early, or he should have stood them up. And then he had 3 other cards that were completely without mistakes. So he's done 45 out of 46
Yeah.
fights without mistake. There's nobody's writing that article.
Yeah, we don't test our kids like that. Like if you don't get 100%, you
Yeah.
fail. That's it. Like, um, but then, so do you think this is a squash beef between these two heavyweights, or do you feel like they're gonna cross paths again?
My personal opinion,
Don't care. No, go on.
I I think I think they should stop worrying about each other. I think they've got Kevin Mooney to worry about, honestly.
I've actually
I
been
think,
sent a few things today about Nermin and Kevin Munya. They don't seem to like each other.
yeah, I didn't catch that last bit.
They don't seem to like each other.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen some stuff on socials, and they don't seem to like each other.
Hmm.
Yeah, Kevin's a problem. Like, believe me when I say that Kevin is going to be a problem
Yeah,
for everyone.
I feel like this is a good thing. I mean, we needed some new blood in this heavyweight division, or the lack of
Mm.
heavyweight division here in Sweden. So Yeah, like I've said to Kevin as well that as soon as the podcast comes back up, that I'm gonna get him on and have a little chat about his background and everything. And I'm sure that Nerman's name will be brought up. Um, Nerman seems to be calling out a lot of people though,
Mm.
straight up. So I hope Kevin gets the fight. What do you think? Do you think he will?
Yeah, I think he should.
You
I
want it to be a
think
wolf,
he.
right? You want it to be like a bit closer to you.
Yeah, that would be sick. It was a bit closer, we get to see him. Um, I think, yeah, definitely that fight needs to
But
happen.
he's still an amateur, right?
No, he's going pro now.
Okay, okay.
Basically he won the belt at Wolf, and then he turned pro.
Mm.
So, dude, smaller gloves, man. I believe me when I tell you, even if I was his size, I would not be stepping in there with him.
Yeah, therefore.
He is a bad man.
So the belt that Kevin got, it doesn't say amateur on the belt, right?
No.
Let's just put them two in the cage for a pro belt, right?
Yeah, man.
Let's put them in Wolf for a pro belt.
100%. 100%.
It'd be cool to see Nerman fight outside of FCR. Like maybe if he's on different turf and stuff like that, it could be something
Yeah,
different.
no, definitely.
So that's the fight to make there, Kevin and Nerman.
Yeah. I think that's it. It's like Wolf would also be a good place because it's like it's not brutally far. I mean, I guess it's a ways away from Västerås, but still, like, what's it called? Västerås is a long way for everyone from Malmö to come and see Kevin.
And the next FCR is in Örebro.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a fight to make, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'd love to see that.
What do we do with Josephine Knutsson?
That's hard, man.
Yeah.
That's a really, really hard one.
I actually spoke to her manager, Majdi, on the night and said, you have a problem. Because I don't think they can find someone from Sweden or Europe that's going to fight her in Sweden. I feel like Josephine needs to go somewhere else. I don't know if Cage Warriors has that division. I don't know like where she should go. Maybe Octagon, KSW, something.
Yeah. I would like you say, I'm not sure 100% about the divisions in Cage Warriors. I would like to see her in Cage Warriors. I personally think Cage Warriors is a good place for, like, I get, like, KSW, of course, that's good, definitely high level. Octagon, same. Thing about Cage Warriors, though, is Cage Warriors, you really do get a huge, you get a lot more exposure, in my personal opinion.
The eyes is that.
The thing is, like, Cage Warriors is just like, first of all, Cage Warriors they have them all over the UK, and in certain other places, but like a lot in the UK, and people that want to see MMA, but UFC isn't in the UK that often. They will go, they'll watch Cage Warriors, and they'll be there, and they'll watch the whole show, and you'll see the people on the prelims, and you'll see the whole card. And Cage Warriors does have a reputation for finding like the biggest talents. Connor's from there, Paddy's from there, Jack Tank Shaw's from there.
Yep.
You've got
Ian Gary, who just put on a great debut.
Exactly. You have like a lot of really, really good fighters that have come from there. So there's also this draw to Cage Warriors, where I think both people just being like on UFC Fight Pass, they'll be scrolling through, Cage Warriors. Yeah. That's where this and this fight came from. Through maybe I'll see the next big thing, and also going to watch shows. I could be the person that sees the next Connor before they were Connor. So you get like a lot of extra hype because of that. But I don't think people feel the same way about KSW when they see that come up, or Octagon when they see that come up. It's not the same draw. And I think especially with it being very British, people talk more. It's a huge country. that has a lot of connections to a lot of different places.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and the language kind of thing. I mean, an English promotion in England gets out over the world. But if I ask you who are the KSW champs right now, it's like, yeah, exactly. Like, it's like I don't know. So because the
It's
news
like, and
doesn't get out,
it's like,
like
how do I find out? Do I need to like start Googling in different languages, or
exactly.
that kind of thing?
So it's like that's why I'm trying to push everyone in Sweden to speak English, man. That's the goal. That's the goal. And then we've got Felipe Lima, who won the main event there and the Fight Club Rush bantamweight belt. He says he doesn't want to defend it. He feels like it's his time to go to the UFC.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think he's looking good, man. He's not really been putting a foot wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He's not done that in a long time. So, I mean, I think the thing is you always have to ask a fighter, that's the most important thing. Do they feel personally ready?
Yeah.
Because I think there are a lot of fighters that, they could probably jump in. They could probably, do okay on the prelims or whatever, or they could, go to tough and they would do all right. But I think so much is mental when you get to the UFC, because I think once you get to the level that you can compete at the UFC, until to a certain point you can get a long, long way because you already have the skills.
Mm-hmm.
Jiu-jitsu, you know how to strike, you know how to kick, you have reasonable wrestling. I think once you get to the UFC, that's where like the mental really, really starts to make a difference. Like I feel like promotions before you get there, even like Cage Warriors, I think you could be in I think you could be raw talent. You could be a champ in Cage Warriors, definitely. You just athleticism, raw talent. You don't have much mindset. You might not be the most dedicated person in the gym, but you could still be a champ there because you can. You have these freak athletes, and when they get to the UFC, some sink and some swim, and the people that sink are the people that they were pure talent, and then they get there, and then you realize, oh shit, a lot of these people are super, super talented, but they work a lot harder than me.
Yeah, it's the whole thing about being a big fish in a small pond, and then you go into an ocean with the sharks. Like,
exactly.
But that's why a lot of people, like, you hear Paddy Pimblett saying that he turned down a couple of offers to the UFC because he's like, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing to do. So yeah, don't rush there, right?
And it's the same with Jack Shaw. I mean, literally, Jack Shaw to me is what is the most underrated prospect right now in the UFC.
Yeah.
Honestly, because people don't talk about him. People don't realize how good he is. He's undefeated. He's pretty much manhandled.
Was he like 9-0 or?
I don't know his exact record.
Sorry, 15-0. Shit.
Yeah, so he's on the roll, and people they're like, who's Jack Shaw? And it's like, and he's the thing is, I guess he's pretty quiet about his he's pretty quiet about his career and everything, but when he's in there, he's dominant, and he's like really, really dominant.
Yeah, 4 fights in the UFC and 4 wins.
And the way he manhandles people, but he doesn't look like the type. He really doesn't look like the type of person. He doesn't look like a wrestler, to be honest, at all.
He doesn't look like a fighter.
No, he could just be like some random dude, watching the footy down at the pub or whatever. But he's really, really, really good. Definitely, 100%. I think he's definitely champ material. He's the kind of person that I could see a Sean O'Malley getting as like a, Sean O'Malley getting him as like a scrub.
Yeah. And then
he get like a huge, huge upset, and then suddenly, you're throwing him into like title contention.
The rocket ship.
Honestly, I think Jack Shaw's a problem for Sean O'Malley. If Sean doesn't knock him out, I think he's a problem.
You're making fights, man. Dana, get this guy as a matchmaker.
Yes, Dana.
So we'll start winding things down a bit now. It's the end of the year, so we're gonna give out a few like awards off the top of our heads. No one's getting sent any like trophies or statues or money or anything. But who would you say is your fighter of the year, like globally?
Oh, my global fighter of the year. I'm probably gonna forget someone really like obvious now.
So I'll say
Um,
mine first. I think mine would be Taito Iwasa, just because he's been so entertaining. He's been winning all of his fights. 4 fights, was it 4 fights this year? I think. That for a heavyweight, that for a fighter is quite a lot. For a heavyweight, that's
mm.
like even more. Entertaining. I like his walkout songs. Like I'm enjoying the shoeies. I wouldn't do one myself. Thank you very much. But he seems to be a laugh. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
hope to get him on the podcast soon.
yeah, that would be really sick.
Maybe
That
now
would be
that
really.
he heard that he's my fighter of the year, get him on.
um,
You're doing too much research, man. I said off your head. Come on.
yeah, it's hard. And now the thing is, I want that. Who am I going to go with my fight of the year? Um, oh, there's a lot, man. That's a hard question. I would want to go with.
Let's pick one of your boys. Go on.
I don't know. I kind of want to say Max.
Max Holloway.
Max. Yeah,
That's a good shout,
I've
though.
liked
That's a good
Max.
shout.
Yeah. I've liked Max this year. Like, honestly, I think his fight against Calvin Cater, like, even if he's not, had like 5 fights this year, his
Hmm.
fight against Calvin Cater was kind of enough for me.
Yeah, that was
That was one of those fights
mad.
I could rewatch it instead of a new card every single weekend, and it would still not get boring.
Hmm.
Like, that fight was just like it was like a film. He just like showed levels. So Max, I say Max.
But do you not feel like every fight that Max has been in has been like fight of the year contender? Because I
Yeah,
actually forgot that this fight was in this year, so I'm gonna give that my fight of the year. Max versus Cater. 'Cause
yeah,
Max versus Rodriguez was also amazing.
yeah.
Would that be your fight of the year as well?
Either that or Chandler Gaethje.
That was pure
I
madness.
think for me, Max's was probably the performance of the year.
Hmm. Because it was
Um,
so dominant, kind of thing.
exactly because it was so dominant. But Gaethje Chandler, that was just, it was brutal. There was non-stop action. I actually, like, I'm going to tell you a secret here. I did fall asleep to that fight, but that was literally because I'd woke up really early that morning and I was watching it in bed,
Hmm.
and it was just like literally they'd done all the walkouts, they start the fight, they get announced, they touch gloves, and then I just like wake up in a flurry of punches, and so I'd like miss like a round or whatever.
I'll tell you what.
So
When they were walking out, I fell asleep,
yeah.
and I didn't wake up. And I watched it in the morning. I was like, "Holy fuck!" So, you guys, you don't put us to sleep, but we're in Europe, man. So allow
Yeah,
us.
hard times.
But I have to completely agree with you that. So that you know, performance of the year, Max against Kada, and
Yeah,
then fight of the year, Gagey and Chandler. I wasn't big on
yeah.
Chandler when he came in, but I respect him now.
Really, I like Chandler when he came in,
Yeah.
but I follow his coach
Hmm.
on Instagram,
Hmm.
so I've been seeing a lot of Chandler propaganda there. So
Uh-huh,
I
uh-huh.
guess I was ready for
It's been
him.
input, like it's been put in.
Exactly.
Uh,
I've just been like so excited to see him like get in there and see what he can do.
so then we'll say Swedish fighter of the year, Swedish fighter of the year.
That's easy.
Yeah, is it your boy? Is it Mr.
It's
Chimaev?
Khamzat. It's Khamzat Chimaev, 100%.
One fight this year? Is that correct?
Yeah, one and a half, I guess, if you call that a wrestling um, match.
I don't.
It was impressive. It was impressive. I don't know. I think you get a point for that.
Uh, I was.
You weren't impressed.
Hmm. I don't know, man. I don't. I don't vary out of MMA that often. So let's just keep it like that. I don't vary out of MMA. Uh, But yeah, he's had a great performance. He's one of the biggest names in Sweden, so I guess we're gonna. I'll accept it. I'll give it to him.
I don't know if you're being generous enough there. I would probably want to say he's probably one of the biggest in the world right now.
There's a lot of hype around his name, definitely.
Have
His
you
his
have you
name
but
his
have you seen
name is said in.
have you seen the amount of followers he has on Instagram?
I don't look at that stuff, man. I'm an old guy.
3 million followers.
How, how
3 million
how
followers.
many does Mr. Beast have? Does that mean that he's relevant today?
Well, in the MMA world, 3 million followers is a lot. Like, how many does Kimura have?
Probably more.
I mean, you can't forget
He should
we're
have
in
more.
you can't forget we're in the entertainment business here. As
True,
much as it
true.
is sport, Kimura has 2.8.
Oh wow.
So Kamsa is a bigger star,
Okay. I
and
I
he's not
stand
being close.
corrected.
Yeah, yeah. Put some respect on that man's name. You
The
got, and the thing is, you got to remember this dude speaks like proper broken English. Like he can't, he's not at the stage yet that his English is good enough to be able to, cut slick promos every time he speaks on a microphone. But I'll come here, I'll kill everybody. That's good enough. That's good enough for him. Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen him in 4 fights in the UFC, and he's done 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Well, if we put the minutes together, I don't think. Yeah, we haven't seen much of him, but
I
that's a
think
good
the
thing,
thing
right?
is, can you imagine if you just like accumulated like Hamza's biggest stats? You accumulate like the amount of fans he has. You accumulate the low amount of strikes he's had. The domination he's done. Like if he keeps close to this level of dominance, he's going to be one of the biggest stars we've ever seen.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And he's representing Sweden, which is insane.
Yeah, it's all good, and I hope.
He's literally one of these people that if he headlines a Swedish card,
It'll be mad.
it won't just be 90% Swedes in Avicii Arena. It'll be like 50% Swedes, and the rest of Europe will just come to see him.
Yeah, it will be mad. So, is that your wish for next year? UFC Stockholm.
I have two wishes.
All right, go on.
Well, I honestly like. This is also biased, but I would rather see UFC Malmö because Malmö's close. They've got a good arena.
Does they even know about Malmö?
No, but I guess UFC Stockholm, that would be sick. And I want to see Hamza have a title shot next year.
So let's say start the year with let's say around March where we're supposed to go to London if they're still messing about with Corona and stuff. They come to Sweden instead. Hamza jumps in against a big name, wins that next title shot.
I think either title shot directly, or maybe you put one fight in between there.
All right.
Not that I disagree that he could. I'm sure title shot would be good, but we still want to build him. Make sure the man gets paid as well.
I think my wish for next year, it might be a bit of a personal one, and that is that fighters should stop trying to act like gangsters and should act more like fucking athletes. Okay? Because we've had a few Swedish events now with people jumping in cages. We've had people fighting in crowds. Not people, sorry, athletes, We had people, posing up on Instagram with all types of craziness. Conor was going around like chest pumped out in like, McLarens or whatever the fuck, like yachts and stuff. I want to bring everything back to the sport of MMA, and I want it to be more recognized as a sport. I want fighters to be recognized more as athletes and give this stuff the respect it deserves.
I think you'll have a hard time getting that.
Yeah, your wish sounds a bit more simple.
I think the thing is, in the future, I think definitely it'll be more. It'll be it'll be. You'll see it more as like a sports league, probably. More like an NFL or a Premier League, whatever. But at the moment, it's still more entertainment than it is sport to a certain point. You know, we don't like if you look at the UFC, you know, the rankings. What the fuck are the rankings? You know, they don't really make sense.
Yeah.
Maybe the top 3 makes sense, but the rest of it doesn't really make sense. And even top 3 can be a bit. And until you have like a proper fighters association, and until you have like a proper, it doesn't even have to be the UFC, to be honest, but like a proper global ranking that everybody, you know, unanimously agrees this is the gold standard. You know, we don't need to look at the UFC. This is the rankings that count. And when fighters actually start getting matched, you know, ranking wise and not money wise, I don't think until then you'll see it being like that fighters will be more athletes and that they'll hold themselves as athletes either. And also like now that you get in the future generation coming through, where you're actually starting to get like these smart kids that were before they just did jiu-jitsu and they got really good at jiu-jitsu because they have that kind of mind. Those kids have like started to see that, oh, well, you know, actually I could make a career. You know, this isn't just thug sport anymore. I could make a career of this. I could be an athlete in the UFC.
Yeah.
When you get these like Chase Hooper types, you know, look a bit like nerdy and they're, you know,
Big up my man, Mr. Hooper.
Exactly. They're not your typical like fighters. The more of those that we get, like the really, really, the hard workers with really, really good minds that not just the people that are like savages, and all respect to them, you know, maybe they've had like a hard life and they've, you know, they learned the hard way and they, you know, that's kind of what made turn them into a fighter. But once you get these like kind of more academic kids that are just like, you know, their mind works for grappling and their mind works for understanding distance. So, you know, they start calculating things instead of it being, you know, like a feeling that I guess a lot of fighters have.
Like the whole science, like boxing has become a science kind of thing.
Exactly. So it'll be more calculative. It'll be more, yeah.
I just feel like, you know, we have the IMAFs, we have the amateur competitions. They do tournament styles. Bring that into the Olympics. Becomes more, you know, normal to see that. Because, you know, I'm sure if you go out on the street and you know, show people pictures of Chuck Liddell and Conor McGregor and, you know, they're fighting in a cage and stuff like that, a lot of people are still like, what the fuck? Kind of hooligans kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if you show someone a picture of the last Taekwondo gold medalist or someone in a karate gi, they're like, oh, you know, respect kind of thing. You know, it's a martial art, it's a sport, blah, blah, blah. And then it's fighting in a cage and these guys must be hooligans and stuff like that, because some people like that, but I'm sure a lot of athletes, you know, the ones that really do care about the sports don't want it to be seen that way.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think like IMAF is really good. I just wish that it was more recognized, because in this part of the world it's really recognized. But in the US, if you say IMAF, they're like, what's that?
Yeah. Definitely.
And especially because the US is so big with MMA, that's definitely the biggest MMA country. You kind of need them to be like on board and it to be like, you know, you kind of need that kind of the way that like Sweden's system works in like all sports. You know, you go to these like regional competitions and then, you know, from the regionals you get to the national and that kind of thing. That's the kind of system you also need. You know, they have it in the US. You know, you have like high school wrestling and stuff, and then you get national wrestling and college wrestling, and you got varsity and all that, and all these different levels. You kind of need that same system to work there, so that it becomes like really prestigious to be, you know, a ranked IMAF fighter, and that will be like, you know, your version of playing college football in America. And it's like, oh, well, you know, this guy's ranked #1 in the country in MMA. Instead of it just being like pro. But I guess that is kind of the double-edged sword with MMA, because partly it brings a lot of good people in because it's a sport that you get paid very early. If you compare it to boxing, like you have to be a really good boxer to get paid. When you do get paid, you get paid in the boxing. But in MMA, you can get paid early.
Yeah,
You know, as soon as you go pro, you'll start getting paid. It might not be that much, but you can start getting paid pretty quickly.
I guess like the
Um,
American system when they have like, they have high school football and then they have university football, and then if you do well there, then you get picked up by a team and blah blah, like drafts and
yeah,
stuff like that. So it kind of be like that, right? If you're a gold medalist in the IMAFs, then you should be on the radar for some, big promotions already.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You need like these national organizations behind you, and I think that's kind of where maybe MMA falls flat because
Hmm.
it's very easy instead of taking that route to be like, well, I can go pro and I can get paid, and maybe I could win a belt in this organization. Nobody really knows what it is,
Yeah,
but you know,
it's money.
yeah, exactly. Whereas like if you look at like a wrestler, for example,
Hmm.
or a college football player, college football players, they're not getting paid until they're 22.
Yeah.
That is like the earliest they start getting paid because that's when they go pro. Um, but an MMA fighter, you turn 18 and you know a bit of jiu-jitsu, you can go and turn pro, you can get paid now.
Hmm.
Um, because you don't have to wait for like this prestige, and it's not like, oh, this guy is the number one in the country. He's insane.
I'm just gonna put a disclaimer under what you're saying to say like this is not our views and you shouldn't be doing that. Like I know how to do an arm bar. Fuck it, I'm going in the cage and fighting. Like no, but I completely get what you're saying. But I hope one day we'll see like amateur MMA in like the Olympics or something. Could be cool.
I think that would make a huge difference.
Hmm.
Like you suddenly add all these like Olympic programs for MMA. I think literally that year the whole landscape would change.
Yeah, and the UFC should back it. Defo.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Dana, open that wallet, man. All right. Well, I think that should wrap things up. If anyone has gone all the way to the end of this, thank you very much. It was a very long episode, but I hope everyone enjoys it. Everyone has a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you, man.
Thank you.